In today's video, I want to show you how to make this adorable bracelet. If you know how to slip stitch and chain in crochet, you can make this beautiful bracelet. It comes in a kit, and in the kit you receive this magnetic closure, the yarn, the beads, and the magnetic closure. There it is right here. Okay, and what you'll need to have at home is a crochet hook that's 1 millimeter, a crochet hook that is a C2 or 2.75 millimeter, and you'll also need a wide eye beading needle. If you don't have one and you order the kit, I do suggest that you can purchase dental flossers, or if you want me to send one in the kit, that's fine too. They work really well if you don't have a beading needle, because they have that super big eye and they're very pointy at the end. Here's what the dental flosser looks like. It looks a lot like a wide-eye beading needle. The yarn we'll be using is a small sample of my yarn Be So Fine, which is 100% bamboo yarn and a fingering weight. And what we're going to do first is thread our yarn onto our wide eye beading needle or dental flosser, whichever you are ending up going to use, whichever one you're going to end up using, and you want to thread all of your beads onto the yarn. We're using 63 beads for this project, so you want to start, and I'm sure most of you already know how to thread beads onto yarn, but you're just going to insert the needle through the hole on the bead and slide it through the needle and onto the yarn. Make sure you get it past the tail like that, and you just want to continue doing that until you have all 63 beads on the yarn. Okay, we've got all our beads strung onto the yarn, and I made sure to do it in an assorted pattern. I didn't put any two beads next to each other. And in case you're wondering what kind of an assortment this is, it's just different shapes and sizes all in the same color palette. So this is a pretty pinky palette to go with the pink yarn, Pink Damask. And if you notice on the purple yarn, Lilac Memories, it's more of a purple palette for the beads. Anyway, so how we're going to get started is we have two sides of the clasp, right? So in the pattern, and make sure you download the free pattern on my website. In the pattern, it's going to call out that one side is A and one side is B, just so you have an idea of where you're joining. Because what we're going to be doing, I'll show you on the finished one first. With the smaller hook, because it's small enough to reach into the holes of the magnetic clasp, we're going to slip stitch with this crochet hook to join to that clasp. Then we're going to move to our larger hook, and we're going to chain and bead chain across until we've reached the length of the bracelet, and then we're going to slip stitch and join to the opposite clasp, or clasp B's first hole. So I'll put these on either side here so that we don't get them confused, and we're going to start by joining our yarn with the smaller crochet hook to the first hole on one side of that clasp. So we're going to tie our yarn to our crochet hook. Make sure you're using the smaller one at this point, and we're going to pick up that clasp, and we're going to insert our crochet hook into one of those tiny holes on the clasp, and very gently pull the loop through, and then pull that loop that you pulled through the loop on your crochet hook, and there's your first slip stitch. We're going to pull it larger now so that we can slide our larger crochet hook into there. Okay, and now we're going to chain 3 and then bead chain 1, and bead chain 1 just really couldn't be easier. All it means is that you slide the bead all the way up to your crochet hook and then chain. And you want to pull it kind of tight to make sure the bead's pretty tight on there. So then we're going to chain 3 and bead chain 1. So you're going to slide another bead up, and with the bead right there, you chain 1. That's what I call a bead chain 1. So chain 3, bead chain 1, whoops, I did 4. We want to make sure we do 3. chain 3, and then slide a bead up for bead chain 1. Okay, we've got our 8 beads on there. We're going to do it one more time. So chain 3, slide a bead up, and chain 1 for our bead chain 1, then chain 3 one more time. So we have a total of 9 beads, and if you count the bead chains with the regular chains, we have a total of 39 chains since we joined. So now what you want to do is pull your loop a little bit longer, insert your smaller crochet hook, grab the other magnetic clasp, and you want to slip stitch to join in that first hole on the magnetic clasp. So we're going to pull a loop through the magnetic clasp and then pull it through the loop on your crochet hook. We now have a slip stitch on there. So we'll now elongate our loop to get our regular crochet hook or larger crochet hook back on there, and we're going to do the same exact strand. So it's going to be chain 3, bead chain 1 9 times, and then chain 3. So we did our first set of chain 3, bead chain 1, chain 3, bead chain 2, chain 3, bead chain 1, chain 3, Okay, let's make sure we have the right amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, we've got our 9 beads, which means we have a chain 3 bead 9 times, or 36, plus an extra chain 3 at the end, 39. So we're going to elongate our stitch to slide our smaller crochet hook on there, and now, oh, and our magnetic clasps joined themselves again. You want to make sure you work back now onto the original clasp. So we joined to the first clasp, did a strand, joined to the second clasp, did a strand. Now you want to come back and work into the next hole on the first clasp, or clasp A. And we're going to slip stitch to join. We inserted our hook into the hole, pull a loop through the hole, and pull that loop through the loop on our hook to complete our slip stitch. And then we'll elongate our stitch so we can get our original larger crochet hook back on, and now we'll do our same strand again. Whoops, I got a little tangled. There we go. So we're going to chain 3 and bead chain 1. Do that a total of 9 times. Do one more chain, and then I'll show you how to join onto the second magnetic clasp for the second time. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got our 9 beads separated by chain 3 spaces, and then one additional chain 3 at the end. We're going to elongate our stitch, our loop, and place our smaller crochet hook back on there. We worked into this magnetic clasp last, so now we want to come around and work into the original, or the second, or B clasp this time. Okay, we're going to slip stitch into the very next hole on the magnetic clasp. So you want to insert your crochet hook into that next hole, pull a loop through the hole on the clasp, and then pull that same loop through the loop on your crochet hook to complete your slip stitch. And if you need to elongate it, move it further up the shaft so that the loop gets a little longer and it's easier to pull through. Okay, and we're ready to do our next strand. Chain 3, bead chain 1. Do that a total of 9 times plus an extra chain 3, and I'll show you how to join again. Okay, we've got 9 beads on our next strand, separated by chain 3 spaces with an extra chain 3 at the end, and now we're going to elongate our loop again. The crochet hook got attached to the magnetic clasp too. Okay, so we'll join our yarn back onto our smaller crochet hook so that we can weave it through the next loop on the magnetic clasp. Make sure whatever one you worked into last, this is the clasp we worked into last, you want to make sure you're working into the opposite one this time. And if you have to set it down to make sure that you don't have things twisted, that's perfectly fine, and I do have it twisted, so I'm going to turn it around here. The tail's in the way too. Okay. See why I had to do that? To make sure that I wasn't twisted. So now I'm ready to join in the next hole on this magnetic clasp. So I'm going to insert my crochet hook, pull a loop through the clasp's hole, okay, and then pull that loop all the way through the loop on your crochet hook to complete the slip stitch. Switch back to your larger crochet hook and start your next strand. Chain 3, bead chain 1 for a total of 9 times with 1 additional chain 3. And make sure you pull pretty snug after the bead. Okay, so now we're going to elongate our loop again. Slide our smaller crochet hook onto it and slip stitch to join in the next hole on the next clasp. And always make sure to lay your work down in between joins so that you can make sure that none of your strands are twisted. Okay, so I slip stitched all the way through, switch back to my larger hook, and we're ready to do our next strand, which is a chain 3, bead chain 1 for a total of 9 times and an extra chain 3. Join to our last hole on this side of the clasp. Okay, so we're now ready to join with our last strand with the smallest crochet hook onto the last hole of the last clasp. We're going to pull it through just like we did with all the rest. And remember to slide it up the shaft if you need to make a little more room for yourself. There we go, we got it through, and then I'll switch back to my larger one to fasten off. I'm going to cut the yarn. And so now all you need to do is use a yarn needle to weave in your loose ends just like you would with any other project. And then this is what it will look like when you weave in those ends. Isn't that adorable? Let's see what they look like together. I bet they're even cute together. Obviously this one will be cuter once you weave in the ends, but still so cute. And that's how you make the Venus beaded crochet bracelet. Make sure you go to my website to download the free pattern and to find out more information on ordering the yarn and beading kit.